know you're alone, the hairs on the back of your neck standing on end, an icy dread gripping your heart. Tonight we delve into the abyss, peeling back the layers of reality to expose the raw terror that lies beneath. We journey into the heart of darkness, where fear takes shape and nightmares become reality. These are true stories whispered by those who have stared into the abyss and lived to tell the tale. Listen closely if you dare, as we explore the chilling reality of the end of your comfort zone. The flickering neon sign cast an unsettling glow on the rain-slicked asphalt. John, weary from a long drive, just wanted a hot shower and a warm bed. He checked into the roadside motel, a sense of unease settling over him as the clerk handed him the key to room 104. The air in the room was heavy, thick with the musty scent of stale cigarettes and something else, something sinister. A chill snaked down John's spine as he unpacked his bag, the silence of the room broken only by the incessant dripping of a leaky faucet. Exhaustion finally overtook him, and he drifted off to sleep, only to be awakened in the dead of night by the distinct feeling of being watched. He opened his eyes, his breath catching in his throat. At the foot of the bed, a figure stood shrouded in shadow, its eyes burning like hot coals. Paralyzed with fear, John could only watch as the figure glided closer, its form shifting and swirling in the darkness. He squeezed his eyes shut, willing himself to wake from the nightmare. When he finally dared to look again, the figure was gone. John tried to rationalize the experience, blaming it on stress and fatigue. But the following night, the nightmare returned. This time, the figure spoke, its voice a raspy whisper that seemed to claw its way into his very soul. "Get out!" Driven to the edge of sanity, John ripped the phone from the nightstand, his fingers trembling as he dialed the front desk. The line was dead. He rushed to the door, but it wouldn't budge. He was trapped. The old Victorian house stood on a hill overlooking the town, its once grand facade now shrouded in creeping ivy and an air of melancholy. The Miller family, excited to start a new chapter in their lives, dismissed the whispers of the house's dark past as mere superstition. But as the days turned into weeks, a sense of unease settled over them, a feeling that they were not alone. It began subtly, a flicker of movement out of the corner of their eyes, the feeling of being watched from the shadows. Then the sounds began. Footsteps in the dead of night, floorboards creaking on the stairs leading down to the basement. The family dog, once a playful companion, would now cower at the basement door, whimpering softly. One evening, as the sun began its descent, casting long, eerie shadows across the lawn, young Emily ventured into the basement in search of her missing doll. The air grew thick and heavy as she descended the stairs, the smell of damp earth and something else assaulting her senses. A chill shot down her spine as she noticed it. A shadow, darker than the surrounding darkness, lurking in the far corner of the basement. It seemed to writhe and pulsate, taking on a vaguely humanoid form. Emily, paralyzed with fear, could only watch as the shadow began to move towards her, growing larger with each passing moment. She stumbled back, her heart pounding in her chest, and fled up the stairs, her screams echoing through the empty house. She tried to tell her parents about the shadow, but they dismissed it as an overactive imagination. But Emily knew what she had seen. The shadow was real, and it was growing stronger. Night after night, the shadow tormented the family, its presence growing more menacing, its intentions more sinister. Chapter 3. The Disappearing Hiker. The sun cast dappled shadows on the forest floor as Sarah, an experienced hiker, set off on a solitary trek through the dense woodland. The air was crisp and cool, the only sounds the chirping of birds and the rustling of leaves underfoot. She breathed deeply, enjoying the solitude and the beauty of nature. Days later, when Sarah failed to return home, a search party was organized. They scoured the vast wilderness, their calls echoing through the silent trees. But Sarah was gone, vanished without a trace. The only clue to her disappearance was her backpack, discovered abandoned by the edge of a rushing stream. Inside, they found her belongings undisturbed, along with a small, leather-bound journal. As the search party huddled together, leafing through the journal's pages, a sense of unease settled over them. The entries were written in Sarah's handwriting, but they were different, darker, filled with a sense of growing paranoia and dread. "The forest is watching me," one entry read. "I can feel eyes on me, following my every move." Another entry spoke of strange symbols carved into the bark of trees, symbols that seemed to shift and change each time she looked away. The final entry, scrawled in hurried, desperate handwriting, sent chills down their spines. "It's here. I can hear it moving through the trees, whispering my name. I have to run, but there's nowhere to hide." The search was called off after a week, the mystery of Sarah's disappearance remaining unsolved. Some whispered of an ancient evil that haunted the woods, preying on those who dared to venture too deep into its domain. The journal was kept locked away, a chilling reminder of the hiker who vanished into thin air, swallowed by the vast and unforgiving wilderness. Chapter 4. The Ghost of the Abandoned Asylum. The crumbling facade of Cranbrook Mental Asylum loomed large against the night sky, its shattered windows like vacant eyes staring out into the darkness. Once a place of healing, it now stood as a chilling monument to suffering and despair, abandoned and left to decay. Drawn by morbid curiosity and the thrill of the unknown, a group of urban explorers decided to venture inside Cranbrook, their cameras and flashlights at the ready to document their adventure. As they stepped through the crumbling archway, a palpable wave of coldness washed over them, the air thick with the stench of decay and the lingering echoes of madness. The silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of their own footsteps echoing through the long, deserted corridors. They explored the dilapidated rooms, each one a grim testament to the asylum's dark past. Restraints lay discarded on rusty beds, medical charts scattered on the floor, their pages filled with disturbing accounts of treatments and experiments. As they ventured deeper into the asylum, they began to hear whispers, soft and indistinct at first, but growing louder with each passing moment. The whispers seemed to be coming from the walls themselves, the voices of the asylum's former patients, trapped within its decaying walls. Then they saw her, a solitary figure, a woman in a tattered hospital gown, standing at the end of a long corridor. Her hair was long and matted, her face pale and gaunt, her eyes burning with an eerie light. One of the explorers, emboldened by a mixture of fear and adrenaline, raised his camera and snapped a picture. The flash illuminated the hallway, but when the light faded, the woman was gone. Shaken but undeterred, they continued their exploration, the feeling of dread growing with each passing moment. The whispers intensified, becoming moans and screams that seemed to claw at their sanity. Chapter 5. The Possessed Doll. The antique shop was crammed with forgotten treasures, its shelves overflowing with dusty books, faded photographs and antique toys from a bygone era. 8-year-old Sophie, her eyes wide with wonder, wandered through the aisles, her hand brushing against the cold, glass eyes of porcelain dolls. Her gaze fell upon a doll seated on a dusty shelf tucked away in a dark corner. It was a beautiful doll, dressed in a velvet gown, its porcelain face frozen in a sweet, enigmatic smile. But there was something about its eyes, a strange glint that seemed to follow Sophie's every move. Sophie begged her mother to buy the doll, and despite a strange unease that settled over her, her mother reluctantly agreed. They took the doll home, unaware of the darkness they had invited into their lives. At first it was just a feeling, a subtle shift in the atmosphere of their home. Sophie's once cheerful bedroom now felt cold and oppressive, the air thick with an unseen presence. Sophie's dreams, once filled with rainbows and sunshine, became plagued by nightmares, haunted by the image of the doll's cold, staring eyes. Then things began to happen. Objects would move on their own, doors would slam shut, and whispers would seem to emanate from the doll's corner of the room. Sophie's parents, at first skeptical, began to worry. One night, Sophie's mother awoke to the sound of her daughter screaming. She rushed into Sophie's room and found her cowering in the corner, her eyes wide with terror, pointing a trembling finger at the doll. The doll, which had been sitting innocuously on the shelf moments before, was now in the middle of the room, its head slowly turning from side to side, its glassy eyes fixed on Sophie with an expression of pure malice. The shadows grow long, the air grows cold, and the stories linger in the back of your mind. You see, the veil between our world and the realm of nightmare is thin, fragile. These stories, they are not just tales whispered in the dead of night. They are glimpses into the abyss, reminders that darkness lurks at the edge of our perception. So the next time you feel a chill down your spine, a whisper against your ear, remember, you're not alone. The shadows are listening, watching, waiting for the moment when they can reach out and drag you down into the abyss. Sleep well, my friends, but be warned, you never know what might be lurking beneath your bed, hiding in your closet, or waiting for you, just beyond the veil.